Hello, my lovely listeners. I'm Dr. Mary Barson.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns. Welcome to this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. Good morning, lovely listeners. It's Dr. Lucy here on another beautiful morning. And I'm here, of course, with Dr. Mary.
Hello.
Dr. Mary, how are you today, darling?
I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited, Dr. Lucy, because we are celebrating our 50th podcast episode.
I know. It sounds amazing, doesn't it, to say we've done 50. And I think it's one of those things that if you asked us at the start, you know, where will you be in 50 episodes, we would have gone, I don't know. We don't even know if we're still doing it. But
Not sure if anyone will listen. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we are, 50 episodes on.
And I'm both very proud, happy and humbled that this podcast is doing well. Like, it has spent a large quantity of its time in the top 10 nutrition podcasts in Australia, which is fantastic. And we love that people are listening and sharing, and we really hope that it is helpful and as in service for people to help them reclaim their health.
Absolutely. And as you know, we are always talking about celebrating your victories, no matter how big or how small, because our brain loves to criticize us and tell us where we have made a mistake or we're doing something, you know, that's wrong. So, yeah, I'm also feel very proud of our podcast and so excited to see messages that people put either in reviews or even emailing us, telling us how helpful it is. So, while I'm here then, it would be remiss of me not to put a little plug in saying that if you do find this helpful, and particularly if you're listening on an Apple podcast, if you could put a review, that would be so amazing for us.
They really do help. They really do help us spread the word. So that would be wonderful.
Now, to celebrate our 50th anniversary, we have decided to launch a little mini-series, which we're calling Complicated Basics. And there's a bit of an oxymoron in there. But I think what we know in our society is that there are phrases that get bandied around and not everybody, including me, knows what exactly they mean. So it's fantastic because, as you know, Dr. Mary is a biochemist and has a lot of in-depth knowledge on some of these things that we call the complicated basics. And these include things like, what are antioxidants? What is inflammation? What is stress? These are some of the things that we're going to be talking about in future episodes in the Complicated Basics series. But today we thought we'd start with, what is oxidation? So, lovely Mary, in your bestest voice ever, what is oxidation?
So, oxidation is a normal and natural process that happens all over the planet all the time to all kinds of things, including us. So if you see iron rust, that's oxidation. You cut an apple in half and it starts to brown, that is oxidation. And oxidation also occurs inside our bodies. It's just a natural and normal part of our metabolism happening all the time. And the thing with oxidation is that it can cause oxidative damage. And oxidative damage is a crucial factor for the development of all kinds of chronic diseases. So it's a really important thing to understand, and it's a really important thing to understand how you can limit oxidative damage in your body. Oxidative damage occurs when there is an imbalance between these harmful molecules that are created during oxidation. And oxidation is just a normal metabolic process. If we're just being human, being alive, making energy, we are also making free radicals, which are the product of oxidation.
I love that term, free radicals. Free radicals. So it's not, flower child from the 60s.
No, they're far less benign than a little flower child. It does sound nice, doesn't it? I'm a free radical. But as you'll actually find out soon, free radicals are incredibly obnoxious and you don't really want to have too many of them in your body. So oxidative damage occurs when you've got an imbalance between the free radicals and our body's ability to neutralise the free radicals, which is the antioxidants. So going back to year 11 chemistry, for those of you who've done it, free radicals are an uncharged molecule with an unpaired electron in its outer valence. And basically what this means is that a free radical is a molecule that is desperate to get another electron. It will do absolutely anything to get an electron. It doesn't care. It will rampage through your body, damaging cells, proteins, DNA, absolutely anything. It'll go on an electron grabbing frenzy and it'll pull an electron out of anything it can because it is so desperate to have that lovely paired electron, and it damages cells, proteins, DNA in the process. A free radical is like a really, really obnoxious guy or girl at a party. You know, if you could imagine someone, they're really drunk, they're really obnoxious, and they're just rampaging through the dance floor, stepping on people, tripping over people, spilling their beer, doing absolutely anything they can to get a dance partner. And no one even wants to dance with them, but they are so desperate to find a partner, they don't care what they do. The carnage, the trauma, the damage, the embarrassment, they don't care. They're that obnoxious. So that's what free radicals are. And they're normal, like they're just normal. Another name for them is reactive oxygen species, and they're just a part of life. Totally obnoxious free radical is just tearing the party apart and destroying the whole joint in its desperate search to find an electron to join its unpaired electron in its outer valence shell.
So once it finds that electron, it's no longer a free radical? Is that the deal?
Yeah, and it just chills out. It just calms down. And
right.
The beautiful thing is that these are natural, so we're just making these all the time. It's just a normal and natural part. There are certain things that will increase your production of free radicals, which we're going to go into. But we have natural and normal ways to deal with them. So enter into the party the super calm antioxidants who just grab the free radical by the hand, give an electron and a nice cup of tea, and it just calms down. Just use this analogy.
Right,
more.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
Of course, this is all happening in a fraction of a second in your body, but you get the idea. I think it's a useful analogy. So antioxidants, that's what they do. They are molecules that neutralise these free radicals and reactive oxygen species, and they're incredibly important. And we make them. Our bodies make glutathione, which is one of our most important cellular antioxidants, and we also get them from our food. So a really important source of antioxidants is food, and we really need to be eating a real food, whole food diet to optimise and maximise the antioxidants from our diet to help counteract oxidative damage. So when this is in balance, when you've got enough antioxidants dealing with your free radicals, then we're fine. Like that's normal. It's called the reduction oxidation balance is in balance, redox balance, and that's a healthy state. That's what we all want to be in. But there are quite a lot of things that can tip the balance into a disease state.
Okay, so antioxidants, popular word, you hear it all the time. Apart from glutathione, which is a lovely word, which we never hear, what are the other antioxidants that people might know about or be aware of?
So there's lots. Probably the most famous ones would be vitamin E and vitamin C, but there's heaps, lots and lots of antioxidants in plant-based foods, in the polyphenols. So you want to eat a range of plant-based foods, like eat a rainbow of plant-based foods in your diet. That's what we advocate, Lucy. Aim for, a rainbow over the whole week. You don't have to eat, one of every single coloured vegetable every single day. You might be able to if you wanted to, but over the whole week, aim to have as many different coloured vegetables as you can. And meat, animal-based products are animal-based foods, real animal-based foods are a great source of antioxidants, particularly grass-fed meat's a really good source. So we get them from our food. And interestingly, synthetic vitamins aren't nearly as potent as real food.
This is one of my bugbears, of course, is processed food using the health star rating, where the number of stars increases, depending on how many added things are, like vitamins, etc. And really, they don't have nearly the same impact. Vitamin B that's added to cornflakes doesn't have nearly the same impact as a vitamin from a real food source.
Absolutely. There's this concept of food synergy, which I quite like, which is the way that whole food is produced. We've evolved to eat and to utilise whole foods, and we're just unable to replicate that in a factory, in a synthetic vitamin-making factory. And it's the way that, for example, the antioxidants in a blueberry are packaged up. They're packaged up with cofactors and other elements that make the antioxidants far more potent.
Which makes sense, doesn't it? Because honestly, at the very basics, we all know that humans are not meant to eat food out of factories. It's not actually rocket science.
It really, really isn't.
All right, so you were talking about the redox balance, or the balance of the free radicals, the rampaging free radicals, and then our own innate antioxidants or antioxidants we might get in our food. What are some of the things that increase these free radicals?
Yeah, so quite a few lifestyle-related things can increase our free radical production and can ultimately result in us having an unhealthy redox balance, which means we've got more oxidative damage. And the primary factors there's a few of them, but a really important one to start with is seed oils. The ingestion of industrialised seed oils. And these are highly processed vegetable oils, and they include canola oil, soybean oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, and they're really high in omega-6 fatty acids, which we will talk about a lot more in a later Complicated Basics podcast. But more than that, more than being high in omega-6, which is a pro-inflammatory sort of fatty acid composition, more than that, they're also really processed by the industrial process of extracting vegetable oils from a canola seed, for example. It's a highly industrialized process, and the actual process of industrially and chemically extracting canola oil from a canola seed exposes these omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids to heat and all kinds of other chemicals that are involved in the process, and it oxidatively damages them. So seed oils are already highly oxidated, damaged oils, and when we eat them, these oils get incorporated into our body. They get incorporated into our cell membranes, and they can sort of break down and go rancid and actually cause damage to our cells as we eat them. The oxidation of these unsaturated fats produces these advanced lipid oxidation end products, or ALs, and they really are quite risky to our health. They really do increase the oxidative damage to our circulatory system. They cause inflammation, which we'll talk about again in a later Complicated Basics episode. And they are quite problematic to our health. And the problem is that these seed oils are everywhere, in pretty much every processed, packaged, boxed food you could imagine, and also in a lot of restaurant foods. So they're really common in our diet, but they are an important cause of increased oxidative damage.
And I think that's interesting whenever somebody writes, and we see this again in a lot of Facebook groups and things like that, people will write, I found this product, and they'll put up a processed food bar of some sort, and then somebody else will point out that it's got canola oil, and then someone else gets on and says, what are you, the keto police? And there's all this sort of angst over it. And I think a lot of it is that people don't actually understand how damaging these seed oils can be. Again, a little bit here and there, as we always like to say, a shower doesn't break a drought. A little bit here and there, our body is very, very good at coping with. But when it's this constant every day in every product, it's just too much.
Yes, absolutely. And they have permeated, like I said, pretty much every processed food. If a food has spent any time in a factory during its production, and perhaps I should use the word food in inverted commas, more like, industrial processed food-like substance, it's got seed oils in it. They are just everywhere. And so really, if you want to optimize your health, and reducing your oxidative damage is an incredibly important part of that, you need to really limit your exposure to processed foods.
Absolutely. What other things increase these free radicals?
So the other really big one is insufficient antioxidants. So not having enough antioxidants in your diet, without having enough of, these chilled out people at the party who give the free radical a cup of tea and just let them sit down and, stop tearing the place apart. If you don't have enough of those, then your oxidative damage, your redox balance is going to be out of whack.
Oh, good. So I can just take an antioxidant pill.
Wouldn't that be nice? That would be good. Yeah, I would. Yeah, it'd be kind of easy, wouldn't it? If you just eat whatever you wanted and pop a vitamin E tablet. No, it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, really the best way, and really the only way that works, is to obtain your antioxidants from whole food. Really kind of nutrient-dense whole food. Food as close as possible to its natural form. It would be kind of cool if you could just pop some vitamin E and vitamin C and be done with it. But studies showing, looking at the effects of antioxidant supplements versus real food diets, have shown that they are consistently quite disappointing. They might not do nothing, but they're not nearly as helpful as it was thought that they would be. They were surprisingly unhelpful. And again, it comes back to that idea of food synergy, that the antioxidants in real foods are packaged up with all of these other cofactors, enzymes, and other components that make them work better. And so we really want to eat real food.
And what other things increase the drunk guy at the party?
Really important one is cigarette smoking. So cigarette smoking causes oxidative stress by generating really large amounts of free radicals in our body and in our blood. So smoking is just like inviting an entire obnoxious teenage gang to the party. It's a really good idea to not smoke, and if you do smoke, to get the right help and stop.
And other toxins?
Yeah, so lots of toxins really. It's a big topic, I guess, toxins, but there are a whole lot of environmental toxins that can increase oxidative stress. So air pollution is one. Alcohol, definitely. That's a toxin. It's a toxin that lots of people love, but in excess, alcohol really does increase your oxidative damage. Radiation, you can kind of put that in there. So, and that includes excessive sunbathing. Radiation also from other sources of radiation, like exposure to, medical radiology procedures like CT scans. That's radiation too.
Just on that point, Mez, it's really important for people to be aware that radiology or X-ray tests, CT scans are not harmless. This is why we don't X-ray people every day. The cumulative effect is, as you said, like inviting a gang of thugs over, and you might not invite them all at once, but, you invite 3 every day. By the end of the week, there's quite a few there.
That's right. Lots of sad stories of human suffering back in the early days when technologies like X-rays and radiation therapies and radioactive molecules were discovered before they realised how harmful they were. Lots and lots of cases of people getting very, very sick from them. So nowadays we need to be careful. Obviously, there are times when a CT scan is required, and that's a risk-benefit analysis that needs to be done. But yeah, you wouldn't get a CT every other week. And same with sunlight to an extent. So a bit of sunlight is great for you. It's really, really good to get some vitamin D and nitric oxide and all of these other good things. And like sun exposure on our skin is healthful in ways that we still probably haven't even discovered beyond vitamin D. However, too much, it's radiation essentially, and too much excessive sunbathing increases your oxidative damage.
Absolutely.
And there are others. So other really important factors that will upset that all-important redox balance is stress, in particular chronic psychological stress. We talk a lot about stress. We've had entire podcasts on this before, Lucy. So chronic psychological stress causes increased oxidative stress because it literally changes our physiology. Chronic stress or psychological stress is not just, I feel a bit crappy. It really does literally change your physiology. There's no actual real distinction between our emotions and our physiology. They're actually the same. And our emotions affect our physiology affects our emotions. And there is something about chronic psychological stress and the way that it causes sustained activation of the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, and has increased cortisol and other stress hormones that impairs our redox balance. So stress management, it ain't a sexy topic, but it is so important and one that we talk about a lot. And there are lots of things you can do to just help your body deal with the normal ups and downs of life, with the stress that we can't avoid. And another really important one, Lucy, is sleep. So disrupted circadian rhythms is another cause of oxidative stress, and sleep restriction, blue light exposure at night from our technological devices increases our oxidative stress.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? We talk a lot about chronic diseases, and certainly, from our point of view, we spend a lot of time talking about metabolic diseases that then go on to cause, type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. But also, we can't ignore cancer as an end result, if you like, of the free radicals doing their damage. And it's exactly, you've described it beautifully, the free radical rampaging through the body, damaging DNA, proteins, anything in its wake. And that's exactly, how cancers form. They form when our genes, certain genes can be turned on or off and proteins damaged. And so, again, this makes perfect sense with cigarettes, forming this sort of damage. So we can't sell you anything for good living, No. But good living, good sleep, good food, stress management, a little bit of sunlight, some movement, all of those can change your life pathway without, the promise of an antioxidant in a pill.
That's right. And the magical thing about all this stuff that we've discussed today is that some of these changes are really quite small. Just because changes are small, lifestyle changes are small, doesn't mean that they're necessarily easy. But physical inactivity is a cause of oxidative stress, but you don't need to be a marathon trainer or, practicing for Mr. Olympia bodybuilding competition in order to really reduce your exposure from the oxidative stress from physical inactivity. You just need to move your body a bit, Get up every half hour, have a stretch, do a little bit of resistance training, 5 to 10 minutes a day can make an enormous difference. A 20-minute walk, in addition, can actually make a really big difference, and not enormous changes. 5 minutes of meditation or mindfulness can make a huge difference to your HPA axis activation and can really improve our body's resilience to stress, to psychological stress. And Lucy, I reckon it would be useful for us to give maybe our top 5 recommendations for reducing your oxidative damage and living your best healthy life. What do you reckon they would be?
Number 1, eat whole food.
Absolutely. That's it. And that does 2 things. It increases the healthy, natural antioxidants in your diet, those people that can chill out the obnoxious free radicals at the party, and also prevents you from eating inflammatory foods or oxidized foods that are going to cause more obnoxious free radicals to go on their electron hunting frenzy. So yeah, real food.
Number 2, reduce toxins, particularly smoking, in your environment.
Absolutely. So beautiful people, if you are a smoker, really, 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 really get the right help, and you can kick it. You absolutely can. Lucy and I do medical hypnosis. We help people with smoking. We see it all the time. You can totally ditch the cigarettes. And I would put excessive alcohol in there as well. If you're someone who suffers with excessive alcohol consumption, get the right help, beautiful person, and you can conquer that one as well.
Number 3, prioritise your sleep.
Yes. Circadian rhythms. Absolutely. So incredibly important.
Number 4, make friends with stress. And what I mean by that is that we can't avoid stress. We live in a life that is more stressful, but you can learn to manage it.
That's right. You don't need to wait until you've paid off your mortgage to live a stress-free life. You can learn to live with the stressors of life by learning stress management techniques.
And number 5, I would say do some movement.
Movement. Cultivate a joy of movement. Yeah, you don't need to be Miss Olympia or Mr. Olympia, but do something that you like. Walk. I personally like to dance badly in my kitchen. It's probably my favourite joyful movement. I'm also a pretty bad belly dancer, so I'll bust out some good 90s moves as well as some pretty bad belly dancing moves, but it's pretty fun.
Which brings us to the end of this podcast just as well, because I can hear my husband out there who's decided to start vacuuming, for which part of me needs to be eternally grateful.
He's moving.
He is moving and he's cleaning up all those free radicals that might be living in my house.
Totally. That noise isn't quite as nice as the rain that we had
Not
before.
At all.
Yeah.
Not at all. All right, lovely listeners, that is the first in our episodes of Complicated Basics. And again, we would love your feedback on this. Please leave us a rating if you feel inclined. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Bye for now.
See you, everybody.
So, my lovely listeners, that ends this episode of Real Health and Weight Loss. I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
And I'm Dr. Mary Barson. We're from Real Life Medicine. To contact us, please visit rlmedicine.com.
And until next time, thanks for listening.